Really excited today to have my good friend Jay Kinder with me. Jay, how you doing?
What's up, man? How are you doing, Kevin?
Hey, man, I'm good. Well, for those of you that I'm sure there's not many that don't know Jay Kinder, Jay was the #2 Coldwell Banker agent under the age of 30, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Sold well over 500 homes at the peak of his career, and he's just a legend when it comes to real estate. And I've been training with Jay. I've known Jay since 2008, and not only do I value our friendship, but all of the value that Jay and his team with NAEA has brought to myself and my team. So really appreciate you being here and appreciate your time today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much.
So Jay, for those that aren't familiar with NAEA, National Association of Expert Advisors, why did you guys start the association? Just sort of gives people a little bit of history.
Right. Yeah. This is always people kind of have to put the pieces together to kind of understand the reason why. And so we had been, me and my business partner, Michael Reese, had been coaching from 2005-06 through about 2010. And we had a lot of agents that had, we kind of uncovered this strategy for exponential growth and the secret to kind of unlocking, like growing and doubling and doubling and doubling. And we'd helped a lot of agents do that. But what we found was there was a lot of agents that struggled with the implementation, right? So like we could tell you, hey, you should do this, you should do that. You should have this listing presentation. You should have this marketing piece. But then you had to go back and you had to create all this stuff, and there really wasn't any leverage in that. So we were trying to figure out, well, how would we do this if we wanted to make it done for you, right? Like we could like literally do it done for you, and our goal was to be able to provide all of that same value to any agent that we might partner with in our brokerage. And so we built the National Association of Expert Advisors because we could literally train you and certify you as a certified home selling advisor, give you the done-for-you listing presentation, the tools, the videos, the content to use to put out in the marketplace. And because we built the system based on principles, the principles, like for instance, on the seller side, it's a proven, repeatable system backed by market research to sell your home for up to 18% more than the methods of traditional real estate agents. That's a really good way to articulate your value proposition to a seller. And because we built a system based on principles, it never changes, right? The same principles apply in every market in the country. And once you understand and you can articulate that value to a seller, they see the difference in the value you bring to the table compared to anyone else. So what most agents kind of get to a certain point, they get to a point where they get stuck is when you have to learn how to turn marketing dollars into clients and dollars in the bank, right? Like you get to a point where your business is good, but you're getting referrals and this and the other, but you're spending money on all these different things and you're just trying to figure out like how do I start acquiring customers through spending my own money? And that's really kind of what is at the heart of this event is, that foundation you have to have in place so you can articulate your value proposition. Once you go to this event, you become certified, you get your certification, you leave with the actual one-page listing presentation, the one-page buyer presentation, and you leave with the skills of knowing how to articulate that value in any situation. So it's really kind of the reason we created NAEA was to make that, make it where you could literally be trained in 3 days to be an expert, be positioned as an expert in through all the marketing materials that, again, when you understand when you're marketing, you have to understand to acquire a customer, you have to build trust without them knowing who you are. So the only way to build trust is for you to they have to assume at some point that you're an expert. And the only way to do that is through positioning. So when NAEA says you're a certified expert advisor, a certified home selling advisor, that is, you're leveraging, it's almost like leveraging a celebrity endorsement. So that's the principles behind it. And we really try to streamline the whole entire, process over 3 days to make you, leave like trained like a Navy SEAL and very confident when you leave and excited to take on the world because you kind of have a plan for knowing how you're going to grow the business and your positioning and things of that nature is all kind of done for you. So yeah, that's that. And long story short, that's why we did it. We knew it was going to be a better way. Right. Right.
Well, and gosh, I've been bringing my team down, all my new team members for, 6-7 years. I think I've been 15 or so events. So obviously it's great for teams, but one of the common questions that people are asking is who is it for? Is it the new agent? Is it the seasoned agent? Is it a team?
Yeah, it's well, it's funny. I was gonna rip it off the wall here. I got my 7 stages. The 7 stages of the business. Now we've kind of modified that to 8 stages. I would say that it is. It's funny because in the 8 stages that we break down, the stage 1, 2, and 3 is like pretty much under 50 transactions. You rarely get above 50 transactions without having solved some part of this problem in terms of you have the skills to go out and talk to people. And if you ran some ads and got some leads, you could get face-to-face and win that listing, which it is a different game. Like you getting a referral from a friend versus you spending money and going out and getting a lead and going and competing against that, other agent or another agent. That's a different, it's a different level. But, most of the time if you're under 50 transactions, this is the foundation. This is what will get you through stage 3 to stage 4 to above 50 transactions. Rarely will you do it without. If you do, and if you're doing more than that, let's say you're doing 50 to 80 transactions, you're like, well, maybe this isn't for me. I would say it's absolutely the opposite of that. It's not maybe the biggest problem you're trying to solve, but if you have a team or you're building a team or you think you're going to build a team, what you have currently isn't scalable, right? So what Kevin's talking about, flying his agents into our training, the first lesson you learn when you start building a team is that you probably didn't have a good enough onboarding process, if you had a good hiring process at all. Hiring process, onboarding process, and those systems are critically important. Well, you can plug your agents right into this system. It's the same system that if you're using this system, then it's easier for you to build a team because you're all on the same sheet of music, as opposed to, maybe not having that training in place, that, you haven't developed that training yourself. Normally that's the case. We don't have that training developed for our agents when we first start hiring them. So this is kind of a plug and play system for you to leverage as you're building a team. So it's not as heavy for you when you're building your team. You can leverage this system. And so, so that, I think it makes sense for people that are building teams or want to build a team. And it's certainly the most important step you could take if you're doing less than 50 transactions, hands down, best training you can get, that there is at this stage, because we're providing you with done for you solutions. There's marketing that comes along with this, magazine tear sheet you get access to, the listing presentation, the buyer presentation. That's, again, positioning you as the certified, home selling advisor, certified home selling buying advisor. You get a giant thick book of every script and possible thing you can imagine. Right there. Yep, I got another one over here somewhere. There's a bigger one too. Yep. And so you get all the goods, man. It's I know it's life changing for most people that go to it, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you hosting it. This is the first time we've had one outside of Dallas, to be honest with you. So it's you're certainly worthy of teaching that course, and I'm excited about you guys. This is going to be an amazing event for every agent in Colorado to experience. Well,
it's so overwhelming as a team leader as you bring an agent on, like you said, the onboarding, but also trying to have all the content. I mean, it's a contact sport, so no situation is ever the same. So
right.
You're not only training all the basics, but then you're ongoing trying to train all of those ongoing pieces of the puzzle, and so to have this whole foundational piece in place for you in 3 days for agents, and then it gives you that foundation to train from there forward. It's like
right.
taking a brand new agent and giving them the experience of a 2 or 3 year old veteran.
Yeah, I had a guy sitting at I'll never forget. It's happened more than once, but this one, it caught me off guard. And the guy was sitting up front, and I was talking about the importance of sending out the CHSA video. That basically it's the listing presentation done in 10 minutes in one video. It's in a special format we had custom made for marketing purposes. I'll let you know when you see. You'll get to see it at the event. But you send that out ahead of time, and it basically does the listing presentation, position you as the expert, makes it to where when you get there, there's no selling that has to be done. And that's the biggest mistake most people make. 2 mistakes people make on a listing appointment. They try to sell themselves, which all the selling should be done ahead of time, which that's what this video does. And then they try to give them the price. If you give up the price, you basically are dead. So all they want is price. If you give them price, they go list it with somebody else or whatever the case may be. So you got to get people bought into your process, saying yes to you and your system for selling homes. Then let's talk price. So they don't choose you based on price. So there's a couple little tweaks there, the system that make that really really work. But the guy that was sitting in the front, he said he was real quiet, real shy. You could tell he was kind of a new agent. He didn't want to really say anything. He's like, man, he caught me after I just got done talking about it. He's like, man, he goes, I sent that video out. The very first listing appointment I ever went on, it was $750,000 listing. I walked in the house. The guy said, I don't need to hear anything else. I watched the video. That made total sense. I get it. I'm ready to list it. Let's get it done. He was a type A personality, right? Like he didn't want to hear anything else. He was ready to get his house listed. So he's like, I couldn't believe it. He said, I was sweating. I was so nervous going on to the appointment. And he said, I got a $750,000 listing, my very first one. I was like, man, that paid the price of admission, didn't it? He said, man, he goes, I'll never not send that video. That's the best thing I've ever done. So anyways, it was just funny to see him using his first listing appointment ever, and he gets a $750,000 listing because the listing presentation was done for him, basically, right? So it's just it's phenomenal, right? Like those tools, most people can't even imagine it because they haven't seen it. But like once you see it, you're like, oh, this makes total sense. I can't believe somebody else didn't do this. But it's awesome. And
it just elevates their confidence. I mean, it just takes, for newer agents, especially your team, it elevates their confidence to a whole new level where, 100%. You've trained them to a point where they have the full arsenal. They can overcome the objections that most seasoned agents can't. I mean, I remember, our one agent, Ben, his first full year after going to the boot camp, he did 23 transactions that first year. It's from the boot camp. It's the materials. It's the system.
Yep, it helps, man. It's funny because it's not funny. It's actually sad. It's sad that this industry, as easy as it is to get a real estate license, and there's many great companies that are out there that nobody's created a system for how to differentiate yourself and how to get a customer. There's no system, right? Like you don't get one when you join any company. And, people have training, this and the other, but they don't actually give you the actual system that's your value proposition and how you're going to manage the customer experience and deliver value to that client better than anyone else. And so, that's just, because of the industry the way it is the way it is. They don't, the company doesn't manage the consumer experience. So, they don't get involved in what you do in a transaction or what your value proposition is. So, you have to figure all this stuff out on your own. So over the last, 20 years, we've tried to figure it out and add value and create systems that make it easier for you.
Well, it's obviously worked. It's an amazing event. So I'm thankful that you guys are allowing us to bring it to Denver. We're really excited to have everyone come out. We still have some seats available. So if people go to expertadvisorbootcamp.com, they can get registered. And Jay, as always, I appreciate the value you bring and the relationship. And we look forward to it soon.
Absolutely. I will say this too. Guaranteed that event is one event that sells out 100% of the time. There's nothing we've ever done that sells out 100% of the time. We've had a lot of things that sold out, but that event always sells out. So I don't know. We've never done it in Colorado before. So that's probably a sign. I would take action. You will not be disappointed.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Jay.
You got it, man. Take care, buddy.
Thank you.